All right, another full moon again. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Um, I don't think there's much change for me since the last moon. Well, I don't even know that that's true. The last full moon's oddly long ago, and like it hasn't been very long at all at the same time. Um, it's been over a year now that I've had long haul, and as opposed to going away after a year like I was hoping it would, the brain fog, mental impairment is worse than ever. Um, and I am still just constantly exhausted. With the change in seasons in my bipolar cycle, like I can feel a difference. I can't sleep as much as I used to be able to. I'm still sleeping much more than I would for this time of year. I'm sleeping less, but I'm exhausted all the time. And I can't even think what else to say. So I'm going to still try to maintain my sticking around for an hour for the full moon. I think I'm just going to read. Hey Pat, good to have you here tonight. How you doing? It's been quite a while since we've spoken. I think. Fuck, I'm getting tired of being this stupid. All right, so this month I read a couple books by fuck, I don't even know how to say his last name. Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know. And the end of the book, Fight Club's a little bit different than the movie. The movie ends on a sort of anti-hero up note, that they just blew up all the financial buildings, and I think it ends with Tyler, whatever the fuck his real name is when he's not Tyler, um, and Marla like holding hands, talking about how they just changed everything. At the end of the book, well, yeah, I'll read the last couple chapters from Fight Club. The exploded shell of my burned out condo is outer space black and devastated in the night above the little lights of the city. With the windows gone, a yellow ribbon of police crime scene tape twists and strings at the edge of the 15-story drop. I wake up on the concrete subfloor. Maple flooring once. There was art on the walls before the explosion. There was Swedish furniture before Tyler. I'm dressed. I put my hand in my pocket and feel I'm whole. Scared but intact. Go to the edge of the floor, 15 stories above the parking lot, and look at the city lights and the stars, and you're gone. It's all so beyond us. Up here in the miles of night between the stars and the earth, I feel like just one of those space animals. Dogs, monkeys, men. You just do your little job, pull a lever, push a button. You don't really understand any of it. The world is going crazy. My boss is dead. My home is gone. My job is gone. And I'm responsible for all of it. There's nothing left. I'm overdrawn at the bank. Step over the edge. The police tape flutters between me and oblivion. Step over the edge. What else is there? Step over the edge. There's Marla. Jump over the edge. There's Marla, and she's in the middle of everything and doesn't know it. And she loves you. Well, she loves Tyler. She doesn't know the difference. Somebody has to tell her, get out, get out, get out. Save yourself. You ride the elevator down to the lobby, and the doorman who never liked you, now he smiles at you with 3 teeth knocked out of his mouth and says, "Good evening, Mr. Durden. Can I get you a cab? Are you feeling all right? You want to use the phone?" You call Marla at the Regent Hotel. The clerk at the Regent says, "Right away, Mr. Durden." Then Marla comes on the line. The doorman's listening over your shoulder. The clerk at the Regent is probably listening. You say, "Marla, we have to talk." Marla says, "You can suck shit." She might be in danger, you say. She deserves to know what's going on. She has to meet you. You have to talk. Where? She should go to the first place we ever met. Remember? Think back. The white healing ball of light, the Palace of 7 Doors. Got it, she says. I can be there in 20 minutes. Be there. You hang up and the doorman says, "I can call you a cab, Mr. Durden, free of charge, to anywhere you want. The Fight Club boys are tracking you." "No," you say. "It's such a nice night. I think I'll walk." It's Saturday night, bowel cancer night in the basement of First Methodist, and Marla is there when you arrive. Marla Singer smoking her cigarette. Marla Singer rolling her eyes. Marla Singer with a black eye. You sit on the shag carpet at opposite sides of the meditation circle and try to summon up your power animal while Marla glares at you with her black eye. You close your eyes and meditate to the Palace of the 7 Doors, and you can still feel Marla's glare. You cradle your inner child. Marla glares. Then it's time to hug. You open your eyes. We should all choose a partner. Marla crosses the room in 3 quick steps and slaps me hard across the face. Share yourself completely. "You fucking suck-ass piece of shit," Marla says. Around us, everyone stands staring. Then both of Marla's fists are beating me from every direction. "You killed someone," she's screaming. "I called the police and they should be here any minute." I grab her wrists and say, "Maybe the police will come, but probably they won't." Marla twists and says the police are speeding over here to hook me up to the electric chair and bake my eyes out, or at least give me a lethal injection. This will feel just like a bee sting. An overdose shot of sodium phenobarbital, and then the big sleep, Valley of the Dogs style. Marla says she saw me kill somebody today. If she means my boss, I say, yeah, I know. The police know. Everyone's looking for me to lethally inject me already. But it was Tyler who killed my boss. Tyler and I just happen to have the same fingerprints, but no one understands. "You can suck shit," Marla says, and pushes her punched out black eye at me. "Just because you and your little disciples like getting beat up, you never touch me again. You ever touch me again, and you're dead." "I saw you shoot a man tonight," Marla says. "No, it was a bomb," I say, "and it happened this morning. Tyler drilled a computer monitor and filled it with gasoline or black powder. All the people with real bowel cancers are standing around watching this." "No," Marla says. "I followed you to the Pressman Hotel, and you were a waiter at one of those murder mystery parties." The murder mystery parties. Rich people would come to the hotel for a big dinner party and act out a sort of Agatha Christie story. Sometime between the Bowden of Gravlax and the Saddle of Venison, the lights would go out for a minute, and someone would fake getting killed. It's supposed to be a fun, let's pretend sort of death. The rest of the meal, the guests would get drunk and eat their Madeira consomme and try to find clues to who among them was a psychotic killer. Marla yells, "You shot the mayor's special envoy on recycling." Tyler shot the mayor's special envoy on whatever. Marla says, "You don't even have cancer. It happens that fast. Snap your fingers. Everyone's looking." I yell, "You don't have cancer either." "He's been coming here for 2 years," Marla shouts, "and he doesn't have anything." "I'm trying to save your life." "What? Why does my life need saving?" "Because you've been following me. Because you followed me tonight. Because you saw Tyler Durden kill someone. And Tyler will kill anyone who threatens Project Mayhem." Everyone in the room looks snapped out of their little tragedies, their little cancer thing. Even the people on pain meds look wide-eyed and alert. I say to the crowd, "I'm sorry. I never meant any harm. We should go. We should talk about this outside." Everybody goes, "No, stay. What else?" "I didn't kill anybody," I say. "I'm not Tyler Durden. He's the other side of my split personality." I say, "Has anybody seen the movie Sybil?" Marla says, "So? Who's going to kill me?" "Tyler." "You?" "Tyler," I say. "But I can take care of Tyler. You just have to watch out for the members of Project Mayhem. Tyler might have given them orders to follow you or kidnap you or something." Why should I believe any of this? It happens that fast. I say, "Because I think I like you." Marla says, "Not love?" This is a cheesy enough moment, I say. Don't push it. Everybody watching smiles. I have to go. I have to get out of here, I say. Watch out for bad guys with shaved heads, or guys who look beat up, black eyes, missing teeth, that sort of thing. And Marla says, "So, where are you going?" "I have to take care of Tyler Durden." His name was Patrick Madden, and he was the mayor's special envoy on recycling. His name was Patrick Madden, and he was an enemy of Project Mayhem. I walk out into the night around First Methodist, and it's all coming back to me. All the things that Tyler knows are coming back to me. Patrick Madden was compiling a list of bars where fight clubs meet. All of a sudden, I know how to run a movie projector. I know how to break locks, and how Tyler had rented the house on Paper Street just before he revealed himself to me at the beach. I know why Tyler had occurred. Tyler loved Marla. From the first night I met her, Tyler, or some part of me, had always needed a way to be with Marla. Not that any of this matters. Not now. But all the details are coming back to me as I walk through the night to the closest fight club. There's a fight in the basement of the Armory Bar on Saturday nights. You can probably find it on the list Patrick Madden was compiling. Poor dead Patrick Madden. Tonight I go to the Armory Bar, and the crowd parts zipper style when I walk in. To everybody there, I am Tyler Durden, the great and powerful, God and Father. All around me I hear, "Good evening, sir. Welcome to Fight Club, sir. Thank you for joining us, sir." Me, my monster face just starting to heal, the hole in my face smiling through my cheek, a frown on my real mouth. Because I'm Tyler Durden, and you can kiss my ass, I registered to fight every guy in the club that night. 50 fights, one fight at a time. No shoes, no shirts. The fights go on as long as they have to. And if Tyler loves Marla, I love Marla. And what happens doesn't happen in words. I want to smother all the French beaches I'll never see. Imagine stalking elk through the deep canyon forests around Rockefeller Center. The first fight I get, the guy gets me in a full Nelson and rams my face, rams my cheek, rams the hole of my cheek into the concrete floor until my teeth inside snap off and plant their jagged roots into my tongue. Now I can remember Patrick Madden, dead on the floor. His little figurine of a wife, just a little girl with a chignon. His wife giggled and tried to pour champagne between her dead husband's lips. The wife said the fake blood was too red. Mrs. Patrick Madden put 2 fingers in the blood pooled next to her husband and then put the fingers in her mouth. The teeth planted in my tongue. I taste the blood. Mrs. Patrick Madden tasted the blood. I remember being there in the outskirts of the murder mystery party with my space monkey waiters standing bodyguard around me. Marla, in her dress with a wallpaper pattern of dark roses, watched from the other side of the ballroom. My second fight, the guy puts a knee between my shoulder blades. The guy pulls both my arms together behind my back and slams my chest into the concrete floor. My collarbone on one side, I hear it snap. I would do the Elgin marbles with a sledgehammer and wipe my ass with the Mona Lisa. Mrs. Patrick Madden held her two bloody fingers up, the blood climbing the cracks between her teeth, and the blood ran down her fingers, down her wrist, across a diamond bracelet, and to her elbow where it dripped. Fight number 3. I wake up and it's time for fight number 3. There are no more names in Fight Club. You aren't your name. You aren't your family. Number 3 seems to know what I need and holds my head in the dark and the smother. There's a sleeper hold that gives you just enough air to stay awake. Number 3 holds my head in the crook of his arm, the way he'd hold a baby or a football, in the crook of his arm, and hammers my face with the pounding molar of his clenched fist, until my teeth bite through the inside of my cheek, until the whole of my cheek meets the corner of my mouth and the two run together into a ragged leer that opens from under my nose to under my ear. Number 3 pounds until his fist is raw, until I'm crying. How everything you ever love will reject you or die. Everything you ever create will be thrown away. Everything you're proud of will end up as trash. I am Ozymandias, King of Kings. One more punch and my teeth click shut on my tongue. Half my tongue drops to the floor and gets kicked away. The little figurine of Mrs. Patrick Madden knelt on the floor next to the body of her husband. The rich people, the people they called friends, towering drunk around her and laughing. The wife, she says, "Patrick?" The pool of blood spreading wider and wider until it touches her skirt. She says, "Patrick, that's enough. Stop being dead." The blood climbs the hem of her skirt, capillary action, thread to thread, climbing her skirt. Around me, the men of Project Mayhem are screaming. Then Mrs. Patrick Madden is screaming. And in the basement of the Armory bar, Tyler Durden slips to the floor in a warm jumble. Tyler Durden, the great, was perfect for one moment, and who said that a moment is the most you could ever expect from perfection. And the fight goes on and on because I want to be dead, because only in death do we have names. Only in death are we no longer a part of Project Mayhem. Tyler's standing there, perfectly handsome, and an angel in his everything blonde way. My will to live amazes me. Me, I'm a bloody tissue sample dried on a bare mattress in my room at the Paper Street Soap Company. Everything in my room is gone. My mirror with a picture of my foot from when I had cancer for 10 minutes. Worse than cancer. The mirror's gone. Closet doors open and my 6 white shirts, black pants, underwear, socks, and shoes are gone. Tyler says, "Get up." Under and behind and inside everything I took for granted, something horrible has been growing. Everything has fallen apart. The space monkeys are cleared out. Everything is relocated. The liposuction fat, the bunk beds, the money, especially the money. Only the garden is left and the rented house. Tyler says, "The last thing we have to do is your martyrdom thing, your big death thing. Not like death is a sad downer thing. This was going to be death as a cheery, empowering thing." Oh, Tyler, I hurt. Just kill me here. Get up. Kill me already. Kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me. It has to be big, Tyler says. Picture this. You on top of the world's tallest building. The whole building taken over by Project Mayhem. Smoke rolling out of the windows. Desks falling to the crowds on the street. A real opera of a death. That's what you're going to get. I say, no. You've used me enough. If you don't cooperate, we'll go after Marla. I say, lead the way. Now get the fuck out of bed, Tyler said, and get your ass into the fucking car. So Tyler and I are up on top of the Parker Morris building with the gun stuck in my mouth. We're down to our last 10 minutes. The Parker Morris building won't be here in 10 minutes. I know this because Tyler knows this. The barrel of the gun pressed against the back of my throat, Tyler says, we won't really die. I tongue the gun barrel into my surviving cheek and say, Tyler, you're thinking of vampires. We're down to our last 8 minutes. The gun is just in case the police helicopters get here sooner. To God, this looks like one man alone, holding a gun in his own mouth. But it's Tyler holding the gun, and it's my life. You take a 98% concentration of fuming nitric acid and add the acid to 3 times that amount of sulfuric acid. You have nitroglycerin. 7 minutes. Mix the nitro with sawdust, and you have a nice plastic explosive. A lot of the space monkeys mix their nitro with cotton and add Epsom salts as a sulfate. This works too. Some monkeys, they use paraffin mixed with nitro. Paraffin has never, ever worked for me. 4 minutes. Tyler and me at the edge of the roof, the gun in my mouth, wondering how clean this gun is. 3 minutes. Then somebody yells, wait! And it's Marla coming towards us across the roof. Marla's coming towards me. Just me because Tyler's gone. Poof. Tyler's my hallucination, not hers. Fast as a magic trick, Tyler's disappeared. And now I'm just one man holding a gun in my mouth. We followed you, Marla yells. All the people from the support group. You don't have to do this. Put the gun down. Behind Marla, all the bowel cancers, the brain parasites, the melanoma people, the tuberculosis people are walking, limping, wheelchairing towards me. They're saying, wait. Their voices come to me in the cold wind, saying, stop. And we can help you. Let us help you. Across the sky comes the whoop, whoop, whoop of police helicopters. I yell, go. Get out of here. This building's going to explode. Marla yells, we know. This is like a total epiphany moment for me. I'm not killing myself, I yell. I'm killing Tyler. I am Joe's hard drive. I remember everything. It's not love or anything, Marla shouts, but I think I like you too. 1 minute. Marla likes Tyler. No, I like you, she shouts. I know the difference. And nothing explodes. The barrel of the gun tucked into my surviving cheek. I say, Tyler, you mixed the nitro with paraffin, didn't you? Paraffin never works. I have to do this. The police helicopters, and I pull the trigger. In my father's house are many mansions. Of course, when I pulled the trigger, I died. Liar. And Tyler died. With the police helicopters thundering towards us, and Marla and all the support group people who couldn't save themselves, with all of them trying to save me, I had to pull the trigger. This was better than real life. And your one perfect moment won't last forever. Everything in heaven is white on white. Faker. Everything in heaven is quiet. Rubber-soled shoes. I can sleep in heaven. People write to me in heaven and tell me I'm remembered, that I'm their hero. I'll get better. The angels here are the Old Testament kind. Legions and lieutenants. A heavenly host who works in shifts, days, swing, graveyard. They bring you your meals on a tray with a paper cup of meds. The Valley of the Dolls playset. I've met God across his long walnut desk with his diplomas hanging on the wall behind him. And God asks me, why? Why did I cause so much pain? Didn't I realize that each of us is a sacred, unique snowflake of special, unique specialness? Can't I see how we're all manifestations of love? I look at God behind his desk, taking notes on a pad. God's got this all wrong. We are not special. We are not crap or trash either. We just are. We just are. And what happens just happens. And God says, no, that's not right. Yeah, well, whatever. You can't teach God anything. God asks me what I remember. I remember everything. The bullet out of Tyler's gun, it tore out my other cheek to give me a jagged smile from ear to ear. Yeah, just like an angry Halloween pumpkin, Japanese demon, dragon of avarice. Marla's still on Earth and she writes to me. Someday she says they'll bring me back. And if there were a telephone in heaven, I would call Marla from heaven. And the moment she says hello, I wouldn't hang up. I'd say, hi, what's happening? Tell me every little thing. But I don't want to go back. Not yet. Just because. Because every once in a while, somebody brings me my lunch tray and my meds, and he has a black eye, or his forehead is swollen with stitches, and he says, we miss you, Tyler Durden. Or somebody with a broken nose pushes a mop past me and whispers, everything's going according to the plan. Whispers, we're going to break up civilization so we can make something better out of the world. Whispers, we look forward to getting you back. Shit, sorry to hear you got a concussion, Pat. Okay, thanks for answering, JS, Mike. Hey, Joel. How is For Whom the Bell Tolls? Pat playing soccer, blasted a point blank with a soccer ball. I got a concussion in high school playing rugby. I fell and got kicked in the head by cleats. So is your still a bit off from that, Pat? JS, reading evolutionary sciences stuff right now. Adds details to the life I see around me. It's nice. Yeah, it sounds interesting. Hey, Rock the Bass. I hope you're doing well. All right, I'm only halfway through, so I'm going to read. I earmarked 2 chapters out of another book by the same author. Overall, I didn't like the book. Not as good as Fight Club. So this is from Choke. I think these 2 chapters might sound interesting on their own. Anytime somebody in a new car offered them a ride, the mummy told the driver no. They'd stand at the side of the road and watch the new Cadillac or the Buick or Toyota disappear, and the mummy would say, the smell of a new car is the smell of death. This was the 3rd or 4th time she'd come back to claim him. The glue and resin smell in new cars is formaldehyde, she'd tell him. The same thing they use to preserve dead bodies. It's in new houses and new furniture. It's called off-gassing. You can inhale formaldehyde from new clothes. After you inhale enough, expect stomach cramps, vomiting, and diarrhea. See also liver failure. See also shock. See also death. If you're looking for enlightenment, the mummy said, a new car isn't the answer. Along the side of the road would be foxgloves blooming, tall stalks of purple and white flowers. Digitalis, the mummy said, doesn't work either. From eating foxglove flowers, you get nausea, delirium, and blurred vision. Above them, a mountain held itself against the sky, catching clouds and coated with pine trees, and then some snow higher up. It was so big that no matter how long they walked, it was still in the same place. The mummy took the white tube out of her purse. She pinched onto one shoulder of the stupid little boy for balance and sniffed hard with the tube stuck up one side of her nose. Then she dropped the tube onto the gravel edge of the road and just stood looking at the mountain. This was a mountain so big, they would always be walking past it. When the mummy let go, the stupid little boy picked up the tube. He wiped the blood off with his shirt tail and handed it back to her. Trichloroethane, the mummy said, and held the tube for him to see. All my extensive testing has shown this to be the best treatment for a dangerous excess of human knowledge. She buried the tube back in her purse. That mountain, for example, she said. She took the boy's stupid chin between her thumb and forefinger and made him look with her. That big, glorious mountain. For one transitory moment, I think I may actually have seen it. Another car slowed down. Something brown and four-door, something too late model, so the mummy waved it away. For one flash, the mummy had seen the mountain without thinking of logging and ski resorts and avalanches, managed wildlife, plate tectonic geology, microclimates, rain shadow, or yin-yang locations. She'd seen the mountain without a framework of language, without the cage of associations. She'd seen it without looking through the lens of everything she knew was true about mountains. What she'd seen in that flash wasn't even a mountain. It wasn't a natural resource. It had no name. That's the big goal, she said, to find a cure for knowledge, for education, for living in our heads. Cars went by on the highway and the mummy and little boy kept walking with the mountain still sitting there. Ever since the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible, humanity had been a little too smart for its own good, the mummy said. Ever since eating that apple. Her goal was to find, if not a cure, then at least a treatment that would give people back their innocence. Formaldehyde didn't work. Digitalis didn't work. None of the natch highs seemed to do the job. Not smoking mace or nutmeg or peanut skins. Not dill or hydrina flowers or lettuce juice. At night, the mummy used to sneak the little boy through the backyards of other people. She'd drink the beer people left out for slugs and snails, and she'd nibble their Jimson weed and nightshade and catnip. She'd squeeze up next to parked cars and smell inside their gas tank. She'd unscrew the cap in their lawn and smell the heating oil. I figure if Eve could get us into this mess, then I can get us out, the mummy said. God really likes to see a go-getter. Other cars slowed down. Cars with families, full of luggage and family dogs. But the mummy just waved them all past. The cerebral cortex, the cerebellum, she said. That's where your problem is. If she could just get down to using only her brain stem, she'd be cured. This would be somewhere beyond happiness and sadness. You don't see fish agonized by wild mood swings. Sponges never have a bad day. The gravel crushed and shifted under their feet. The cars going by made their own hot wind. My goal, the mummy said, is not to uncomplicate my life. My goal is to uncomplicate myself. She told the stupid little boy, morning glory seeds didn't work. She tried them. The effects didn't last. Sweet potato leaves didn't work. Neither did pyrethrum extracted from chrysanthemums. Neither would sniffing propane. Neither did the leaves of rhubarb or azaleas. After a night in somebody's yard, the mummy left a bite out of almost every plant for people to find. These cosmetic drugs, she said, those mood equalizers and antidepressants, they only treat the symptoms of the bigger problem. Every addiction, she said, was just a way to treat this same problem. Drugs or overeating or alcohol or sex, it was all just another way to find peace, to escape what we know, our education, our bite of the apple. Language, she said, was just our way to explain away the wonder and the glory of the world, to deconstruct, to dismiss. She said people can't deal with how beautiful the world really is, how it can't be explained and understood. Ahead of them on the highway was a restaurant, parked all around with trucks bigger than the restaurant itself. Some of the new cars the mummy didn't want were parked there. You could smell a lot of different food being fried in the same hot oil. You could smell the truck engines idle. We don't live in the real world anymore, she said. We live in a world of symbols. The mummy stopped and put her hand in her purse. She held the boy's shoulder and stood looking up at the mountain. Just one last little peek at reality, she said. Then we'll have lunch. She put the white tube in her nose and breathed in. It was malicious endangerment this time, or reckless abandonment, or criminal neglect. There were so many laws the little boy couldn't keep them straight. It was a third-degree harassment or second-degree disregard, first-degree disdain or second-degree nuisance. It got so the stupid kid was terrified to do anything except what everybody else did. Anything new or different or original was probably against the law. Anything risky or exciting would land you in jail. That's why everyone was so eager to talk to the mummy. She'd been out of jail for only a couple weeks this time, and already stuff had started to happen. There were so many laws, and for sure, about countless ways you could screw up. First, the police asked about the coupons. Someone had gone to a downtown copy shop and used a computer to design and print out hundreds of coupons that promised a free meal for two, a $75 value with no expiration date. Each coupon was folded inside a cover letter that thanked you for being such a valued customer and said the enclosed coupon was a special promotion. All you had to do was eat dinner at the Clover Inn restaurant. When the server presented the bill, you could just pay with the coupon, tip included. Somebody did all that, mailed out hundreds of these coupons. It had all the earmarks of Ida Mancini stunt. The mummy had been a server at the Clover Inn for her first week out of the halfway house, but she got fired for telling people stuff they didn't want to know about their food. Then she just disappeared. A few days later, an unidentified woman had run screaming down the center aisle of a theater during the quiet, boring part of some big, fancy ballet dance. This is why the police got the stupid little boy out of school one day and brought him downtown to see if maybe he'd heard from her, from the mummy. If maybe he knew where she was hiding. About this same time, several hundred very angry customers flooded into a fur salon with 50% coupons they got in the mail. About this time, 1,000 very scared people arrived at the county sexually transmitted disease clinic, demanding to be tested after they received letters on the county letterhead warning them that some former sex partner had been diagnosed with an infectious disease. The police detectives took the little stooge downtown in a plain car and then upstairs in a plain building and sat with him and his foster mother, asking, has Ida Mancini attempted to contact you? Have you any idea where she's receiving funds? Why do you think she's doing these awful things? And the little boy just waited. Help would come soon enough. The mummy, she used to tell him she was sorry. People had worked for so many years to make the world a safe, organized place. Nobody realized how boring it would become, with the whole world property lined and speed limited and zoned and taxed and regulated, with everyone tested and registered and addressed and recorded. Nobody had left much room for adventure, except maybe the kind you could buy on a roller coaster, at a movie. Still, it would always be that kind of faux excitement. You know the dinosaurs aren't going to eat the kids. The test audience have outvoted any chance of even a major faux disaster. And because there's no possibility of real disaster, real risk, we're left with no choice for real salvation, real elation, real excitement, joy, discovery, invention. The laws that keep us safe, these same laws condemn us to boredom. Without access to true chaos, we'll never have true peace. Unless everything can get worse, it won't get any better. This is all stuff the mummy used to tell him. She used to say, the only frontier you have left in this world is of intent. The only frontier you have left is the world of intangibles. Everything else is sewn up too tight, caged inside too many laws. By intangibles, she meant the internet, movies, music, stories, art, rumors, computer programmers, or computer programs, everything that isn't real, virtual realities, make-believe stuff, the culture. The unreal is more powerful than the real, because nothing is as perfect as you can imagine it, because it's only intangible ideas, concepts, beliefs, fantasies that last. Stones crumble, wood rots, people, well, they die. But things as fragile as a thought, a dream, a legend, they can go on and on. If you can change the way people think, she said, the way they see themselves, the way they see the world, if you do that, you can change the way people live their lives. And that's the only lasting thing you can create. Besides, at some point, the mummy used to say, your memories, your stories and adventures will be the only things you'll have left. At her last trial, before this last time she went to jail, the mummy had sat up next to the judge and said, my goal is to be an engine of excitement in people's lives. She stared straight into the stupid little boy's eyes and said, my purpose is to give people glorious stories to tell. Before the guards took her into the back wearing handcuffs, she shouted, convicting me would be redundant. Our bureaucracy and our laws have turned the world into a clean, safe work camp. She shouted, we are raising a generation of slaves. And it was back to prison for Ida Mancini. Incorrigible isn't the right word, but it's the first word that comes to mind. The unidentified woman, the one who ran down the aisle during the ballet, she was screaming, we're teaching our children to be helpless. Running down the aisle and out the fire exit, she yelled, we're so structured and micromanaged. This isn't a world anymore. It's a damn cruise ship. Sitting, waiting with the police detectives, the stupid little shit-faced troublemaker asked if maybe the defense lawyer, Fred Hastings, could be there too. And one detective said a filthy word under his breath. And right then, the fire alarm bell went off. And even with the bell ringing, the detective still asked, do you have any idea how to get in touch with your mother? Screaming against the bell, they asked, can you at least tell us who she might target next? Shouting against the alarm, the foster mother asked, don't you want us to help her? And the alarm stopped, and the lady stuck her head in the door and said, don't panic, guys. It looks like just another false alarm. A fire alarm is never about a fire. Not anymore. And this dumb fuck little boy says, may I use the bathroom? All right. I'm going to read a bit from Beyond Order, Peterson's new book. I'm just going to pick up where I left off. This is the book I'm reading at the moment. So I just got to Rule 11. Do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. The story is the thing. You have your reasons for being resentful, deceitful, and arrogant. You face, or will face, terrible, chaotic forces, and you will sometimes be outmatched. Anxiety, doubt, shame, pain, and illness, the agony of conscience, the soul-shattering pit of grief, dashed dreams and disappointment, the reality of betrayal, subjection to the tyranny of social being, and the ignominy of aging unto death. How could you not want to degenerate and rage and sin and come to hate even hope itself? I want you to know how you might resist that decline, that degeneration into evil. To do so, to understand your own personality and its temptation by darkness, you need to know what you're up against. You need to understand your motivations for evil, and the triad of resentment, deceit, and arrogance is as good a decomposition of what constitutes evil as I've been able to formulate. Is it possible to understand the world in a manner that provides protection against the temptation to traverse that lowest of roads? It is an axiom of human wisdom that clearer formulation and deeper comprehension of a problem is salutary. We will begin just that attempt with a conceptual shift, one that is difficult and perplexing for the committed materialists we moderns are. First, a question. What is the world made of? To answer this, we need to consider reality, the world, as it is fully experienced by someone alive and awake, with all the richness of subjective being left intact. Dreams, sensory experiences, feelings, drives, and fantasies. This is the world that manifests itself to, or better, that you meet head on with, your unique individual consciousness. Consider the act of awakening in the morning. If you were asked what you would perceive at that moment, you might well mention the same concrete objects that everyone else might see if they woke up in bed beside you. You might describe all that you've gathered around you in your bedroom. The desk, the chairs, the clothes, messy or neatly arrayed, depending on your temperament and preference, and perhaps your condition last night. You're likely to answer in this very objective, realistic manner, claiming essentially to see the furniture of the stage. There is, of course, some truth to your answer, although you may pay less attention to the familiar things around you than you think. Why waste time and energy perceiving what you can simply remember? However, the furniture and other contents of your bedroom are not truly what you perceive when you first wake up. You're already familiar with the place where you sleep and what it contains. There's no reason to continue to effortlessly and consciously apprehend what you already understand. Instead, you are liable to perceive your surroundings psychologically. You begin to consider how you're going to conduct yourself on the stage you will inevitably occupy, and what is going to happen in consequence. What you see upon waking is an array of possibilities, many of them concerning the day at hand and others associated with the weeks, months, and years to come. What you are truly concerned with upon waking is the answer to a question. What shall I make of the possibilities that I see in play in front of me? Complex, worrisome, exciting, dull, restricted, unlimited, fortunate, or catastrophic as they may be. Out there in the potential is everything you could have. It's the realm of unrealized possibility, and no one knows its full extent. There appears to be no limit in principle to what can be made from what has not yet manifested itself. Everything that might yet be makes its home there. You could well consider what remains to be encountered as an eternal treasure house, a horn of plenty, which are in fact two of its representations. But this is only half the story. And there's the rub. If the potential you confront manifests improperly because of a mistake on your part, because of the sheer arbitrariness of the world, then you can find yourself in terrible trouble. Out there in the unknown, in the future, which is what you truly contend with when your consciousness reawakens, awaits everything good, but also everything terrible, painful, hellish, and deadly. Whatever potential might be, therefore, it does not follow the simple rules of material logic. Objects that play by the rules of the game we consider real, when we assume that what is real is also logical, can only be one thing at a time, and certainly not themselves and their opposites simultaneously. Potential, however, is not like that. It is not categorizable in that manner. It is tragedy, comedy, good and evil, and everything in between at the same time. It is also not tangible in the sense that the things we consider must be tangible. It does not even exist, except as what could be exists. Perhaps it is best considered as the structure of reality, before reality manifests itself concretely in the present, where reality appears to most self-evidently exist. But creatures such as us do not contend with the present. It may therefore be that it is not the present that is most real, at least as far as our consciousness is concerned. We have to fight to be here now, the advice of the sages. Left to our own devices, we turn our minds instead to investigating the future. What could be? Attempting to answer that question. That is life. That is the true encounter with reality. What is? That is the dead past, already accomplished. What could be? That is the emergence of new being, new adventure, brought about by the conjunction of living consciousness with the great expanse of paradoxical possibility. And if it is possibility that is most real, rather than actuality, as evidenced by the fact that it is possibility we are destined to contend with, then it is the investigation into possibility that is the most important of all investigations. But how do we investigate something that is not here or there or anywhere? How do we examine what has not yet manifested itself? Explore what only could be, but is not yet? And how can we possibly communicate with each other intelligibly about that attempt? Trade information about the most effective conceptualizations, approaches, and strategy? The answer to that, as far as I can tell, is by communicating through stories about what is, and equally what could be. And what that implies is that if possibility is the ultimate element of reality with which we contend, then it is stories that hold the wisdom that we most need to know. We naturally think of our lives as stories. We communicate about our experience in that same manner. We tell people automatically where we are to set the stage and where we are going, so that we can create the present out of that possibility that springs forth as we journey towards our destination. No one finds an account out of the ordinary, but we are doing more than portraying our lives and those of others as a sequence of events. It's something deeper than that. When you depict a person's actions in the world, you describe how they perceive, evaluate, think, and act. And when you do so, a story unfolds. And the better you are at such descriptions, the more story-like your accounts are. Furthermore, we experience the world as populated by figures that represent exactly what we must contend with: the unknown, the unexpected and novel. The world of possibility is represented in dramatic form, as it is the world that we expect and strive to bring into being, and ourselves as actors faced with all the unknown and predictable alike. We use the story to represent all of this. Could it be that we communicate in stories and everyone else understands them, because what everyone is doing in the world is fundamentally a story? Could that mean that the world of experience is, in truth, indistinguishable from a story? That it cannot be represented in a manner more accurate than that of a story? We are, in principle, adapted to the world, adapted to its realities. Thus, if we naturally construe the world as a story, then perhaps the world is most accurately, or at least most practically, construed as a story. And accurate and practical are not so easy to distinguish. You might argue, contrarily, that the scientific view of the world is more accurate in some sense, and that the scientific view is not fundamentally a story. But as far as I can tell, it is still nested inside a story, one that goes something like, careful and unbiased pursuit of the truth will make the world a better place for all people, reducing suffering, extending life, and producing wealth. Why practice science otherwise? Why would anyone take on the difficulties and rigors of scientific training without that motivation? There are more effective ways of making money, for example, if you have the intelligence and discipline to become a genuine researcher. And in terms of intrinsic motivation, the love of science is not precisely disinterested learning. The great experimenters and scientific writers I have known are passionate about their pursuit. Something emotional drives them. They hope that their learning, disinterested though it may be, as at present it has no specific aim except that of learning, will have some genuine positive outcome, making the world a better place. That provides the entire pursuit with a narrative element, the motive that accompanies any good plot, and the transformation of character that makes up the best of stories. We conceptualize what we experience as a story. That story is, roughly speaking, the description of the place we are at right now, as well as the place that we are going to, the strategies and adventures that we implement and experience along the way, and our downfalls and reconstitutions during that journey. You perceive and act inside a structure like that all the time because you're always somewhere, going somewhere else, and you're always evaluating where you are and what is going on in relation to your goal. Part of this thinking in stories is our tendency to see the world as a selection of characters, each of which represents either where we are going, the unexpected occurrences we may encounter, or ourselves as actors. We see animated intent everywhere. And we certainly present the world that way to our children. That is why Thomas the Tank Engine has a face and a smile, and the sun has a face and a smile. That is why, even among adults, there's a man in the moon and deities scattered across the stars. Everything is animated. That is a reflection of our proclivity to treat things as if they were personalities with intent, regardless of what they are, regardless of whether they are animate or inanimate. That is why it's okay that that your car has a face on the front where faces belong, which it most certainly does. We act, perceive, think, react that way because each member of the human species does almost everything he or she does in the presence, for better or worse, of other people. And that has been the case forever. Virtually everything we encountered in the long biological rise to our current form was social. If we were not interacting with people, then it was with animals. Maybe we were hunting them or herding them or playing with them once they had been domesticated. Or maybe they were hunting us, and we had to understand them to escape them or defend ourselves. All that tribal, intertribal, and cross-species interaction molded our brains, shaped our fundamental categories, rendering them social, not objective, not like the categories of science. It is not as if we're born with an instinct for the periodic table of the elements. No. We only managed to get that straight a few hundred years ago, and it took a lot of conscious time and effort to formulate. Furthermore, even though it was other people who did the terribly hard work necessary to establishing that remarkable chemical category system, it's difficult to learn. It is not that interesting intrinsically, at least for most people, because there's no story associated with it. It is an accurate and useful representation of the objective reality of what is, beyond the shadow of a doubt, but it is a struggle to master perception of that abstracted form. Conversely, if someone's telling you a story, it attracts your attention immediately. It can be a complicated and cognitively difficult story, something requiring hours of concentration. It might even be the story of how the periodic table of elements was discovered and the triumphs and difficulties that accompanied the process. It does not matter. If it's well told, it is gripping and likely to be remembered. If you want to teach a child something and get them to attend, tell them a story. They will repeatedly ask you to do that. They do not grab at your pant leg and beg, "Dad, one more line from the periodic table of elements before bed." But they're highly motivated to hear a story, sometimes even the same one every night. That is an indication of the depth and importance of stories. You might think the story is simple, but your child listening intently is processing the multiple levels of meaning represented in any decent tale, meanings of which you are very unlikely to be aware if the story you're telling is traditional and deep. We are all human. That means there's something about our experience that is the same. Otherwise, we would not all be human. We would not even be able to communicate. To communicate paradoxically, there must be things about you and others that can go without saying. Imagine telling someone, "I got really angry this morning." If there's any indication that you want the conversation to continue and they're agreeable, they might ask you why. But they're not likely to ask, "What do you mean angry?" They do not ask the latter question because they already know from their own experience what angry means. It can be assumed rather than explained. In fact, the only reason you can talk about anything at all is because there are some things you do not ever have to talk about. You can just take them for granted. We know worldwide, for example, that there are basic sets of emotions shared by all humans and by many animals. Everyone understands a growling mother bear standing in front of her cubs, teeth bared for all to see. It is those things that you do not have to talk about that most precisely make us human, that constitute the essence, mutable though it remains through the actions of society and environment. So, on to the story of the story, in fact. We will begin by meeting the characters whose existence universally structures our understanding of the potential of the world. With luck, as you meet them, you will begin to understand their relationship to resentment, arrogance, and deceit well enough so that understanding will offer you some protection. And at that, I think I'm done for the night. Love you too, Pat. Yeah, I have too much brain fog and fatigue to interact with chat. Sorry about that. I know it's been a lot of streams now where I've just sat here and read. I have no idea if this is permanent. We don't seem to understand long haul. I did a bit of research recently, which I hadn't done in like 8 or 9 months. Partially because I was afraid of seeing exactly what I saw. Still, nobody knows what the fuck causes it. I remember when I first looked it up, seeing that some people had long haul for a year. Some people have had it for over 2 years now. And we don't know if it's permanent or not. If this is permanent, I don't see myself being any good in the long run. I'm aware that it's okay that I'm stupider. They say a lot of people with long haul have a 10-point drop in IQ, but I feel like mine's more than that. And it's not just a drop in IQ, it's all kinds of brain function I can't explain. But it isn't even that is stopping me from doing more. It's the fucking fatigue. And I can't say whether or not I'm going to get past this. So for now, I'm not quitting yet. But for now, it may just be the full moons. And I may not be that interactive. I may just read. Well, thanks, Twin Turbo. Twin Turbo says that was fantastic. Could listen to you for hours. See, and that makes me want to do more. But I don't know if I have the energy to or not. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. And I think that's the note I'm going to have to leave it on. Yeah, that's it for me. I hope everybody's doing much fucking better than I am. God bless. Lunatic love to all.